Today's video is brought to you by creatives.dothis.com.
Women influencers are also targeted, sometimes with fatal consequences.
Women who pursue any careers or hobbies as social media influencers should have the right to do so.
Justice for Sana Yusuf! Justice for Sana Yusuf!
In Pakistan, inside a modest house in Islamabad sector G13-1, Sana's aunt heard it first. A sharp crack, quick and muffled. For a second, she thought it was just a balloon popping. There were still balloons in the house, left over from a 17th birthday party that had just happened. Her mother, Farzana, was nearby. She heard the sound too, but what came next told her the celebration was truly over. She heard her daughter, Sana, fall to the floor. The mother rushed towards her daughter's room, and what she saw on the floor would stay burned into her memory forever. Sana, her clothes stained with red, her chest unmoving. Farzana screamed for help. Neighbors came running. Someone grabbed car keys. They tried to lift Sana to get her to the hospital, but by the time they carried her outside, it was already too late. Somewhere between that bedroom door and the front gate, her story had ended. The person who pulled the trigger was already gone. Who was he? Why had he done this? The hunt was on. What nobody knew in that moment was that what happened to Sana was about to rip open something much bigger. By the way, this is Dark Case, and you can call me Jack. I bring you rare and unseen true crime cases, as well as other things that you may later regret knowing. I just sneezed, with multiple uploads every single week. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, then make sure you join the Dark Case family now by hitting subscribe and turning all notifications on. And now for today's silly little question: do you have, or can you think of, your favourite combination of two words? I think about that whole cellar door thing a lot. I think it was Tolkien that said it's the most beautiful combination of words in the English language. I think it was him. But yeah, you can't have cellar door, that's taken. But give me your combination down in the comments. All of your support over on Patreon, as well as right here via channel memberships on YouTube, are so appreciated. And I really can't thank you all enough. However, thank you. By the way, just a reminder, there's no AI voices on this channel, it's just me. But that does of course mean that sometimes I have a cold, like today. But now, on with the video. Just hours before the events of this video, Sana was celebrating. In her last video, she stands beneath pastel balloons cutting a cake. She's smiling the way that someone with the whole world ahead of them smiles. There were no shadows or dramatic warnings here, just joy, just life, a beautiful moment all round. And yet, by the very next day, that same video would be flooded with comments saying rest in peace. So how can things shift that fast? How did Sana go from blowing out candles to becoming the centre of a national tragedy and a national conversation? Police would later say that that answer starts long ago, and it starts inside a dark mind. Before the headlines, the outrage and the protests, Sana was just a girl from Chitral who filled her online world with colour, culture and kindness. Her family had spent years serving their community. Her father, Syed Yusuf Hassan, was known across Upper Chitral as someone that people went to when they needed help, when they needed guidance or they needed to feel hope. So Sana grew up watching that, and she carried that same softness into her life online. Her videos weren't scandalous, they weren't provocative, they were really just joyful. Chitrali dresses, northern folk music, girls' education, moments of laughter over shared cups of chai. But in reality, she gave even more than she showed online. If she had brand deals, she donated those clothes afterwards. The money that she received from ads, she spent it on girls who couldn't afford books or tuition. She didn't brag, she didn't document the good that she did. She simply just did it because she wanted to. For her family, Sana was preparing for medical school, a girl who wanted to heal people, not just to entertain them. But the morning after she met her end, the news broke like a thunderclap, and within minutes the first theory spread like wildfire. People were saying, honor killing. People online didn't pause, they didn't ask questions, they just took a theory and they ran with it. A 17-year-old girl visible on TikTok, her time ended in her own home. It seemed to fit a pattern that Pakistan knew too well. Hundreds of women are killed every year for honor, reportedly at least 405 in 2024 alone. This means there are countless women whose names never make the news. Comment sections exploded. Must have been the family. Her videos brought shame. These girls forget our values. This narrative swallowed Sana in seconds. Her kindness, her dreams, her gentleness, reduced to a stereotype that people were all too ready to believe. But here's where things turned. Here's where that narrative broke apart. Police began investigating. They spoke to the family. They examined the scene. And quietly, firmly, the truth emerged. This wasn't honor. This wasn't even her family. None of this was rooted in tradition or shame at all. It was something else entirely. The real threat was not from inside her home. It was outside, watching, waiting, and getting ready to step into her world. This video is sponsored by Creatives Do This, a platform that I've helped to launch that features real interviews with real artists, candle makers, musicians, and creatives of all kinds who are making it work. Right now, we're looking for creatives to feature. So if you've made money from your creativity, whether it's a full-time career or a new side hustle, and you want to share how you did it, we'd love to hear your story. It's just a short text-based interview and it takes around 10 minutes. And in return, you get free lifetime access to everything that the platform becomes. Plus, your work will get featured to inspire others and to build your brand. Hit the link in the description or the pinned comment to take the quick interview and to become one of the 100 founding members. There's now less than 50 spaces left. www.creativesdothis.com. The first hint of danger didn't come from Sana. It came from him, a 22-year-old man living hours away in Faisalabad. He was unemployed, and he was quietly developing an obsession. Police say that he started trying to contact Sana months earlier. Messages, offers and attempts to meet up, repeated offers of friendship, each one just ignored, each one an obvious no. But here's where this story starts to twist, because in his mind, no didn't mean stop. It seemed to mean try harder. Some people drift in and out of your DMs, they get bored, they move on. But not this man. He watched her videos constantly, he tracked her routines, he knew what city she lived in, he even knew her birthday, May 29th, a day that Sana spent surrounded by laughter, by that delicious looking cake, and by those amazing balloons. That strange man obviously wasn't invited to the party, but he still spent the day, travelling to Islamabad regardless. The next days were pretty quiet, at least that is from Sana's perspective. But for the man, his obsession was growing darker. It turned into entitlement, it turned into anger. By June the 2nd, he couldn't wait anymore, and he made his move. CCTV cameras later captured him wandering near her home. And this wasn't just once or twice, he did it for hours. Just a man pacing outside a house that didn't belong to him, looking for his moment to slip inside. The father of the house was out of the city, her brother was in Chitral, so only the women were home. The man did not knock, he didn't message to be let in. Instead, he forced his way into the home, straight into a home that had never invited him. And this was a moment where everything pivoted, the point where obsession stopped being digital and it now became physical. When that man stepped through the door, he wasn't there to talk. He had already made up his mind about how this story was going to end. When the man crossed the threshold of the family home, the world outside kept on moving. Cars passing, neighbours cooking dinner, the evening settling in like on any other day. Inside that house though, time went into overdrive. It was a normal afternoon with nothing out of place. Then, Sana saw him, standing in her bedroom. A man that she had never welcomed in, now standing inside her home, inside her room, blocking the doorway, holding a pistol. Her mother heard the commotion, footsteps, a voice that she didn't recognize, a tone that didn't belong in their home. There was a brief confrontation, a moment where Sana tried to understand what was happening, a moment where this man could have turned around. He could have stopped, he could have left, but he chose not to. Police later said he pulled the trigger twice, both hitting Sana in the chest, close range and final. The same aunt who thought she'd heard a balloon popping now understood what that sound really was. She rushed towards the noise, but then the intruder turned the weapon on her too. He pulled the trigger once more, but this time the weapon jammed. A mechanical failure that saved her life. For a split second, that malfunction created a moment of strange silence, and it was just long enough for the man to flee. He didn't run away in blind panic. Instead, he walked out calmly with purpose, and he took something with him that was not his. Sana's phone, the device that he believed held conversations, messages, anything that he thought could twist this into a different story. He believed that deleting those traces might erase his role. It might change the narrative. It might hide his obsession. But nothing he did could undo what was already done. Back inside the home, Sana's mother was collapsing over her daughter. She was shouting her name, calling for help, calling for someone, anyone to bring her back. Neighbors carried Sana to a car. They tried to rush her to the hospital, but she was gone before they made it. By the time her father got the call, nothing in his life would ever be the same. Outside, the street was filling with sirens, neighbors whispering, people staring into a home that had just been full of birthday balloons hours earlier. And this story that would shake Pakistan was only just beginning. The moment that news of Sana's passing hit social media, the story exploded. Comments poured in fast. Shock spread across Pakistan, from influencers to students, from families who saw their own daughters in Sana. But while the country was grieving, the police were racing for answers. The Inspector General called it a blind case, saying that there were no clear leads, no known suspects, just a teenager gone and a man who had vanished into the city. So investigators began digging hard. They combed through 113 CCTV cameras, footage from streets, businesses, highways, tracing through every movement, and slowly, pixel by pixel, a figure began to appear, a man walking away from the house, then boarding transport, then leaving Islamabad. Less than 24 hours after the event, they found the man in Faisalabad. There, he had tried to disappear back into his old life. When the man was arrested, he confessed for what he'd done to Sana. This confession will become important later. The man was now in custody. Police recovered the weapon. They recovered Sana's phone. They recovered messages that he had erased, evidence he tried to destroy, and a timeline that he thought he could blur. Things online were heating up. Millions of strangers were choosing sides, some demanding justice, others blaming Sana for her own demise. In the days after Sana met her end, the streets of Islamabad filled with anger and grief. Activists, students, women and families all gathered outside the National Press Club, holding signs that read, "Saying no is my right," and "Women are not targets." Chants rose up against patriarchal violence and the culture of blaming victims. For many, Sana's passing wasn't just another case. This was the final breaking point. In a country where women are too often punished simply for being visible, the protest demanded immediate justice, systemic reform, and safety for every woman who dares to exist online. For days, the man in this story was simply a silhouette, a figure in CCTV clips, a presence pacing outside a house that wasn't his, an evil presence who pulled a trigger and then disappeared. But now we know more about him, and the truth about their so-called history, a history that wasn't a love story, it wasn't a friendship, it wasn't even a misunderstanding. It was something far more disturbing than all of that. Police say that the man had tried to contact Sana repeatedly, that he tried online, through messages, and then finally in person. He'd watched her videos obsessively. He'd learnt her routines. He travelled all the way from Faisalabad to Islamabad just to try and get close to her. When he learned her birthday was May the 29th, he made the trip early, hoping that she would meet him. She didn't, obviously. Why would she want to spend time with him rather than her family? And here's a part that Sana's family stresses. Sana never told them about him. She never mentioned any messages. She never reported being harassed. To her, he was just a stranger, totally unimportant, and nobody in her life. To him, though, she was something he believed that he was owed. Because remember, this was never a relationship. This wasn't reciprocated. This wasn't two people who knew each other. It was a physical embodiment of entitlement, which is so often violence. The man who did this was named Umar Hayat. He was 22 years old. After the arrest, the case moved quickly, at least on paper. Umar Hayat was placed on a 14-day physical remand. Police lined up the timeline, the weapon, the CCTV footage and the recovered phone. And then came the identification parade. Sana's mother and aunt, the two women who had seen him inside their house, had to stand face to face with the man who had just shattered their lives. They could identify him immediately. From there, the court extended his remand and then shifted him into judicial custody. Trial dates formed, statements were recorded, the paperwork stacked higher and higher. But then something happened that stunned the public. Despite previously confessing to the police at the time of his arrest, despite the recovery of the phone, despite eyewitnesses, Umar now stood in court and said, "All accusations are false, a not guilty plea." I don't know about you, but I see this as an extension of his entitled behaviour. The judge adjourned the hearing. More witnesses scheduled, more dates marked, more waiting. And while the legal process crawled forwards, Sana's parents could hold on to the only thing they had left, their daughter's memory. Their lives were now being swallowed up by a system that they hoped wouldn't fail her. But justice in cases like this is never quick, it's never simple, and importantly, it's never guaranteed. The case continues moving through the courts, and all eyes are watching at what happens next. Because what happens to Umar Hayat will echo far beyond Sana's family. It will speak to the whole of Pakistan, and whether the justice system is actually up to protecting girls like Sana, girls that will never get to grow up. In the days after Sana met her end, her bedroom stays the same. But now there's two main differences. Sana isn't there anymore, and there are bullet holes in the walls. Her final birthday cake, pink and soft, is still sat in her feed, frozen in a magical moment where nothing was wrong. And also often that's the part that people forget. Sana isn't simply a headline. She shouldn't just be seen as a symbol or as a topic of debate. She was a young woman who wanted to study medicine, to help other girls, to celebrate her culture, and to make videos that just made people smile. Her father said that she was braver than a son. Her mother still calls her name when the house feels too quiet. The events of this video expose a truth that many already knew, but still hoped wasn't real. And that truth is that we live in a world where women and girls can be punished just for saying no. Be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.